The survivor is left with fundamental problems in basic trust, autonomy, and initiative. She approaches the task of early adulthood, burdened by major impairments in self care, in cognition, in memory, in identity, in the capacity to form stable relationship. Judith Lewis Herman, Trauma and Recovery. My topic is child abuse, and my aim is to create greater awareness of the different types of abuse children face daily, with the hope that there will be greater urgency to help children who are being abused. Child abuse is an epidemic throughout the world and is considered as one of the most heinous forms of abuse. Not only is it emotional, sexual, or physical, it causes mental and physical distress, harm, and disturbance to children and affects their health. Unfortunately, every year, more than 3.6 million referrals are made to child protection agencies involving more than 6.6 million children, and this referral can include multiple children. According to childhelp.org, the United States has one of the worst record among industrialized nations, losing an average between 4 and 7 children every year to child abuse and neglect. In my country, Jamaica, child abuse reported cases presented by the Office of Children's Registry indicates that close to 70,000 cases of child abuse were reported over 8 years from 2007, and that preliminary figure shows a troubling increase in the number of cases reported in 2015. Child abuse is more than just physical with bruises and broken bones. It is verbal, psychological, emotional, sexual, and neglect. Child abuse kills more children than accidental fall, choking on food, suffocation, or fires in the home. It occurs in all classes of society and is a virus that needs to be eradicated. Now let's look at the different type of abuse mentioned earlier. My first point is physical abuse. Now, this is deliberate aggressive actions on a child that inflicts pain, wounds, unexplained bruises, burns, and sore muscles. We know a child is being physically abused when he or she shies away from touch, has welt marks, flinches at sudden movement, is afraid to go home, and wears inappropriate clothing to cover up marks. According to Journal of Health and Social Behavior, adults who experience abuse as children suffer from more chronic diseases than those who were not traumatized. In particular, victims of child abuse are at a greater risk of developing stress-related immune disorders, including allergies, asthma, and autoimmune diseases. Whereas a child who has lived the nightmare of verbal abuse will always feel misunderstood or unimportant. Often this act involves put downs and name calling intended to make the victim feel they are not worthy of love or respect and that they do not have ability or talent. If the victims speak up against these statements, they are often told that the criticisms were just a joke and that it is their own problem that they do not find the joke funny. Most verbally abusive statements are camouflaged by the choice of words, the tone of voice, and the body language. Then there is psychological abuse. This takes shape in the form of one person controlling the information available to another person so as to manipulate that person's sense of reality, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. This type of abuse often is strong emotional, manipulative content designed to force the victim to comply with the abuser's wishes. For example, psychological abuse might occur when a pedophile tells a child victim that she caused him to abuse her because she tempted him. Now, how can a child tempt an adult? This impact of child abuse and neglect is often discussed in terms of physical, psychological, behavioral, and societal consequences. In reality, however, it is impossible to separate them completely. Did you know that when parents are continually unavailable for their children, it constitutes abuse? Yes, it does. Neglect or the absence of parental care can have damaging effect on a child's well-being. It is also the most common form of child abuse. Emotional abuse results in depression and anxiety. For example, it may make a person more likely to smoke, abuse alcohol, illicit drugs, or overeat, often manifesting high risk behaviors leading to mental illness because of the way trauma affects the stress system. Sexual abuse. According to study.com, it includes any type of behavior toward a child that is intended for an offender's sexual stimulation, such as fondling, forced sexual acts, or indecent physical exposure. This can be one isolated event as well as incidences that go on for years, which eventually results in risky behaviors by the victim, in turn can lead to long-term physical health problems such as sexually transmitted diseases, cancer, and obesity. In most cases, statistics alone cannot convey the horror of physical assaults upon children in our society. A child who is physically, verbally, psychologically, sexually abused or neglected will have those scars for life. Physical scars will be visible, but emotional scars may have the most damaging effect. Most of the children that have been abused will have trust issues and find it difficult to build relationships, especially if the abuser is someone they trusted or relied on for security and support. Clearly, there is a need for collaboration among psychosocial clinicians, social service agencies, and the criminal justice system. We need to stop our young ones from being exposed to and to endure physical, verbal, psychological, emotional, sexual abuse, and neglect. If you have reason to believe a child has been or may be harmed, call your local Department of Children and Family Services or your local police department. Preventing child abuse is not simply a matter of parents doing a better job. Rather, it is accept personal responsibility in reducing acts of child abuse and neglect. Provide support for each other, protect children within our families and our communities. We can do better, we must do better. Child abuse is not just a social issue, it is also a healthcare issue. Help keep our children safe. Strongly oppose, protest, and fight against child abuse and the abusers. Break the shameful silence that has enveloped the children who have already died. Speak out and act on behalf of our children. Protect them and save a life.